Hello, hello, this is Pigsy doing another video. I've done a few videos today actually, just record them, delete them, record them, delete them, so I can find one I feel quite happy with. Anyway, today I think this one's going to be quite good. So, Enlil and Enki and the Gilgamesh, I think they were the sons of Gilgamesh, before the Sumerians, so there's the information on the Anunnaki, and this family's splintered and spread out, and whether it's believed or not, there still is strong ties, I think, globally, and there was other connections to things. So maybe human society was very evolved, went through a cataclysm, and then had to rebuild itself from the start, and then you've got these technology, like these temples and things, where they're made out of very natural materials by very intellectual people. Like mathematically, they're, it's like information. What can we leave these people behind? Because this place is going to be blown to smithereens, or maybe there were certain other effects that might happen. Maybe the oxygen levels were too high. Oxygens are poisonous to some life forms. That's why things like bacteria and viruses live in people and stuff. Because they have to manage the oxygen, because they can't thrive so well. In the same way that mushrooms, if the humidity and the light frequencies are not right, they won't thrive either. So they might live underground. And so the Earth has gone through different stages and phases. So different kingdoms have existed, and they still do. So, but they might have retreated to underground, or they might have retreated to people's hosts, like viruses. Maybe they de-evolved. Maybe they're a part of some bigger organism. And then also coming back to viruses, because they're considered dead, it opens it up to genetically engineering them, because they're dead. It doesn't matter, they're dead. And so you can knock out all sorts of synthetic viruses very, very easily. In the same way as if you treat animals as livestock, then they can be used for science projects and so on, because they have no rights. They're not intelligent. If your cat's meowing because I'm sticking a needle in it, well, it's just because it's an instinct. It's nothing to do with a soul or anything else. So these kind of crackpot mindset individuals justify negative things, and they claim that to be from positive reasons, because most people are neutral. They've just corrupted their good side. They say, well, I'm doing good by killing people. It's just that kind of, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So there's no sort of difference. So anyway, go back to the Anunnaki. So you've got these different kingdoms that split up based on different power bases, and these power bases were from an organised society, so their influences have still been cast over the world. And so you've got a financial side of it, very much, I think the UK is connected to that, possibly up in Switzerland and some other places, so there's kind of an area. You've got the war arm of it. It seems like the Air Force in America, guns and Air Force and other types of military, but airstrike mainly type ones. The Russians, it seems to be more to do with tanks. I'm trying to think of other things. They're very orthodox. Some of the religious influences as well, because you had the Vatican and their connections to the past with the Roman Empire and before then. And so where do we go the further we go east? Well, we start going to, it's basically got cradle of life. You've got like Syria and so on. A lot of life came from that area. But you'll find the medical arm was China. I think I've mentioned this before. So the problem we got with the latest pandemics, a lot of these countries have gone into some Cold War mode. And the thing is, they can't defeat each other troop-wise. And they basically look at these models and think, well, who would win in these situations, like game of Risk and stuff, and they think, well, if we wouldn't win and they're expanding, how other ways can we defeat them? So it's economics. So like for US, they got the EU. You fund an organisation and you influence their politics, and they become very anti-Slavic, or they divide the country. They say, right, well, Ukraine can work with us, but they can't become our EU member yet, or maybe they are, I can't remember. And then you've got another area where you say, well, hang on, you can become part of the EU, but you just got to put pressure on Russia and be this oppressor. And then Russia's got their own way of doing things, and I'm not saying there's any good or bad in any of these countries. They're kind of a mixed playing field. They're basically cut from the same crop at a certain level. But with China, so we got this is the issue we've got is you've got Ebola had a bat connection, you've got SARS and MERS has a bat connection, and then you've got this COVID has a bat connection. Basically, the chances of that all coming from a bat, not unless we live in caves with bats, is quite small. So it appears to be a human influence on that way, and that could be poor hygienics modelling. So maybe there are areas in China that are really poor hygiene when it comes to animals and humans, or it's being weaponised because there's a medical link to it. China's not stupid, and if they've been making bioweapons, they've been playing out a part of a Cold War. But they've showed their hand, which is great, because what you want to know is where you stand with a country. If you don't like us and you're our enemy, let us know. We were happy for that. We can play the game now as well. Thank you. So a lot of that is still playing out. This Cold War stuff. So there's data warfare that's from America, there's data warfare in Russia, there's data warfare in China. There's the superpowers, really. It's figuring out who the superpowers are and who they align themselves with, and what war games are playing out. So you're just a pawn in this game. And I mean, for the UK, it'd probably be economic warfare with China, because I think that started already, actually. China sort of ripping off the America by saying there wasn't copyrights to these things and they could mass produce things like phones. Concerns around security, data protection, other stuff. And so now you've got biological warfare that's going on with bioweapons and people, but they're not accepting responsibility, just sort of playing out against people. Anyway, this is Pixie sign off this video, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.